what you think. Book club time. Today, on the 9th of February, of 2023, we are reading out of the Poetic Edda, once again, Jackson Crawford's translation. If you are in this paperback copy that you can get on Amazon, we are on page 252. If you're just on the YouTube, it's also on page 252. And we are reading Sigrdrífumál. Insert correct word here, but it's something like that. It means the meeting with the Valkyrie. That's what it's supposed to mean in English. Having been told of her by the birds at the end of Sigrdrífumál, Sigurd now goes to the mountain Sigrdrífumál, where the Valkyries Sigrdrífa sleeps. As with many other poems concerned with the Volsungs, there is a prose introduction and occasional prose notes in the manuscript, which are translated here along with the poetic stanzas. Sigrdrífa, literally victory driver, may or may not be the same person as the Valkyrie Brynhild, who appears in the later poems about Sigurd. Much of the poem consists of Sigrdrífa's advice to Sigurd, which is reminiscent of Havamal, both in the tone of her general advice and in her insistence about the power of the runes. Through this, we will take turns reading. It does not matter which order we go in. I will read it all if no one wants. It's all voluntary. If no one wants to read, I will read it all if I have to. But you want to read, just kind of speak up and do the thing. I'm going to read the intro here and to stanza 2, and if anybody wants to take over, cool. If they don't, I'll continue. Sigrdrífumál. One day I'll get it. Sigurd rode up on the mountain Sigrdrífumál, south toward Frankish islands, when he saw a great light on the mountain, as though a fire burned there, and it glowed against the sky. When he came to it, he saw a fortress, and there were flags flying on top of it. Sigurd went into the fortress and saw a person sleeping there on the floor, fully armed. He took the helmet off first, and then he realized this person was a woman. Her chainmail was tight, and as if it had grown to her skin. He took his sword Graham and cut the chainmail off, first cutting down the middle and then down both sleeves. Then he took the chainmail off of her, and she woke up and saw Sigurd and said, "What broke the chainmail? Why am I awake? Who has freed me from my imprisoning armor?" He answered, "Sigmund's son is the one who cut it. Sigurd's sword is fresh from feeding the ravens." He said, "I have slept so long, I have been asleep so long. Human sorrows last so long. Odin cursed me never to break the sleeping spell by my own power."
I'll jump in and read for you. Sigurd sat down and asked her name. She took a hornful of mead and offered him the ritual drink. She said, "Hail the day, hail the sons of day, hail the night and her sister. Look on the two of us here with friendly eyes and give us victory. Hail the gods, hail the goddesses, hail the hospitable earth. Give the two of us eloquent speech and wisdom, and healing hands while we live." She was named Sigrdrífa, and she was a Valkyrie. She said that 2 kings had fought. One was named Gunnar. He was old and a great warrior, and Odin had promised him victory. The other was named Agnar, brother of Hotha, who received help from no one. Sigrdrífa killed Gunnar in this battle, but Odin stung her with the sleep thorn in revenge for this, and said she would never again choose victories in battle, and that she would have to marry. But I told him that I had sworn an oath to marry no man except one who knew no fear, she said. Sigurd asked her to teach him wisdom if she knew news from all the realms. Sigurdrífa said, I bring you beer, warrior, blended with strength and fame. It's full of spells and magic, good enchantments, and happy words.
You should carve victory runes if you want to have victory. Carve some on the hilt of your sword. Carve some on the middle of the blade also. Some elsewhere on the sword, and name Tyr twice. You should learn beer runes if you want another man's wife. To abuse your trust if you have a tryst, carve them on the drinking horn, and on the back of your hand carve the rune for in on your fingernail. You should bless the drinking horn, then watch out for trouble and throw garlic in the drink. If you do this, I know you'll never drink mead that's blended with a curse. You should learn life-saving runes if you want to save a woman's life when she is in the throes of childbirth. Carve them on your palm and clasp them around your limbs and pray to your family spirits for help. Helpful advice. You should make wave runes if you want to save ships out in the wild water. You should carve them on the ship's bow and on the steering rudders, and burn them into the oars, and then there won't be any steep wave. There won't be any blue waves that you won't escape from safely. You should learn limb runes if you want to be a healer and learn how to heal wounds. Carve them on bark, carve them on needles of a pine that bend eastward. You should learn speech runes to prevent those who hate you from taking vengeance on you. Wind them around, weave them around, set them all around at the court where people go for judgments.
Something again for you. You should learn mind runes if you want to be wiser than any other man. Odin read them, Odin carved them, Odin thought them up. From the liquid that leaked from the skull of Heathrofnir, from the horn of Hadrafnir. Odin stood on a mountain, Vermeer's sword in his hand and a helmet on his head, when wise Mimir's head spoke the first word and spoke truthfully. Runes were carved on the shield that stood before the shining sun, and on the ears and hooves of the horses that draw the sun, on the wheel of the chariot of Thor, on the reins of Sleipnir, and the reins of his sled. They were carved on a bear's paw and a poet's tongue, on a wolf's claws and an eagle's beak, on bloody wings and bridges' beams, and helper's palm, and a healer's footprint. They were carved on glass and gold, on treasures and wine, and in beer and a witch's chair, on Odin's seer point and a troll woman's breast, on a Norn's fingernail and the beak of an owl. All of them that were carved were then shaved off, and they were stirred into the holy mead and sent far away. Some are with the Aesir, some are with the elves, some are with the Vanir, and mortal men have some. The beech tree ruins and life-saving ruins, and all the beer runes and the famous strength runes will be of good use, for everyone who knows them completely and correctly. Use them, if you know them, till the gods die. Now you must choose from the options you are offered, mighty warrior. Choose to speak, or choose to remain silent. Your fate is already decided. Sigurd responded. Oh, go ahead.
Sigurd responded, I will never flee, even if you know I am doomed to die. I was not born a coward. I want to have all of your loving advice, as long as I live. Sigrdrífa said, I advise you first that you behave faultlessly with regard to your kin. Don't avenge yourself on them, even if they give you cause, or your bad name will lead to your death. I'll give you more advice. Never swear an oath unless your words are true. The grim rope of a hangman waits for the oath breaker. The fate of a liar is agony. That one's just really pretty. I'll give you a third bit of advice. You should not speak with fools at public events. An unwise man will often say worse things than he realizes. You'll lose everything if you stay silent when you're mocked. You will seem like a coward, or the slander will seem true. A reputation is dangerous unless you earn yourself a good one. So wait for another day to kill a fool who mocks you, and then repay him for his lie. Those were just really pretty. I'll give you advice a fourth time. If an evil sorceress offers you lodging on your journey, it is better to keep going than to stay with her, even if darkness sets on you outside. Warriors need prudent eyes if they wish to wage battles. Often witches, wise in magic, will sit near a road, dulling men's sword blades in their minds. I'll give you a fifth shred of advice. If you see a pretty woman sitting on a bench, don't let that woman into your dreams. Don't try to seduce a woman. I'll advise you a sixth thing. If in the course of drinking men become drunk, do not fight your enemy while you are drunk. Wine steals the wits of many. Often a night of song and beer has caused many men unhappiness. It sometimes caused their death. It's sometimes gotten them cursed. Drunkenness has caused untold sorrows. And that's why we don't drink and drive, kids.
Absolutely. Right. I'll give you a seventh bit of advice. If you dispute a case with courageous men, it is better to fight them right away than wait for them to burn you inside your own home. I'll give you advice an eighth time. You should avoid evil and stay long away from lying. Do not seduce a girl, nor any man's wife. Do not encourage woman's looseness. I'll give you advice a ninth time. Repeat. Respect a dead body, whether you find it on the ground, whether the death was from sickness or drowning at sea or men's violence. Clean the bodies of the dead, wash their hands and head, and comb and dry them. Before you put them in a coffin, then wish them a good rest. I'll give you a 10th bit of advice. You should never believe the oaths of your enemy's son. If you have killed his brother or slain his father,
You went silent there, hon.
Sorry, my phone decided to go crazy.
Stanza 35.
Yep. If you have killed his brother or slain his father, then there's a wolf in that young man, even if he accepts your money. Disputes and fights are never forgotten, and no one forgets sorrow. Every man needs his wits and his weapons if he wants to have his way. I'll give you an 11th bit of advice. Avoid evil, whatever path you take. I don't think you'll live long, Prince of Warriors. Great battles are before you. And that was the end of that.
Yes, it was. Thank you very much. Thank you. I feel like we read that very fast, but that was just the tone of it. They didn't miss a beat. They just kept going there. I feel like this is all very good advice, and my personal opinion, it flows better than the Havamal. It's not necessarily better advice, but it flows better.
This has always been one of my most favorite of the prose edda, or the poetic edda. I especially love the uses of the runes. Runes has been one of the big part of my practice and healing work. And
yes, I made stars by all the rune stuff.
It's a big link on, or a big. You can do this with it, and you can do this with it, and you can do this with it.
Mm-hmm. Doc missed out. This is right up his alley. But yeah, it just gives a lot of cool stuff. I made a note by the one about garlic too, because right before I had mentioned how I planted garlic this time, and it's used in most of the things that I make. A vampire wouldn't survive in my house. I put garlic in everything.
My original teacher is Hazelrig Odinson. He moved to just outside of St. Louis, Missouri, and he has a garlic farm up there. Yeah, so it's always been a big one too.
I like the part about respecting the dead. I like that. And there was a lot of it that was just pretty, honestly, that I'm just gonna I'm gonna highlight later, and one day I'll put it on a t-shirt. It's just really pretty. Overall, it's just good advice. It's just good stuff. I don't have any in-depth things like I normally do, with the exception of the intro to it. It says, Sigurd rode up on the mountain Hinderfall, south toward Frankish lands. He saw a great light on the mountain as though a fire burned there, and it glowed against the sky. My first thought there was, it sounds like it's the same intro that the story about Moses and the burning bush has. Comes on a mountain, there's a fire there, and he goes to see the fire, and there's a bush there, except here it's not a bush, it's a thing, it's a building with a lady trapped in chainmail. But I have that little thing there, that little asterisk there, this sounds really similar.
One thing I love about this one, this is where we get the story of Sleeping Beauty from.
Oh yeah, we had mentioned that last time, because this is like right after and stuff. We did mention Sleeping Beauty last time. For the people of YouTube, if you go and listen to the reading beforehand, there you have us talking about that. There was a whole thing there. I personally like this story better because it doesn't have to do with any of the unmentionable things that are not fun.
The sort of the whole thing is the saga that is the story, or it's the whole family story. And this is probably one of my favorite stories of all of them, is because it's not gods, it's man and how we relate to the world.
Yeah.
And
yes, people of YouTube, remember this: the stories that we're reading now are not the stories of the gods. They are the stories of the heroes at this point in the book.
I don't know if anybody else took it, but when I was reading, or you and I were reading the different pieces of wisdom, I found that very reticent of what's laid out in the Christian 10 Commandments.
I thought that too. I thought about that.
Yeah, but I really liked where it says about not being foolish and not going after somebody right away.
Yeah. Wait till you calm down a little bit.
Yeah. So you do it with a straight head, so you're not the idiot in this situation,
Exactly. Yes. I thought that. And a lot of the where it was talking about learn speech runes to prevent those who hate you from taking vengeance on you, or just the speech runes in general, made me think of chakras. I don't know why, but it has nothing to do with it really, I don't think, but it made me think of it.
Actually, there is a theory that the 9 worlds are actually also tied to the energy centers of the human body, or the body. So the chakras and the 9 worlds are the same, are connected. So not that far off.
But aren't there only 7?
No, actually, there's a lot more than 7. There's 9 actually total, because there's one for the ground, and there's the one above the crown chakra. So there's several differences.
Do you have a link to this article or whatever it was that you read?
I have several. I actually went through massage therapy school a few years ago, or several years ago, and I'm a Reiki master. One something that we covered is the other additional chakras.
If you have a link to the information about the 9 worlds and the 9 centers, send it to me. I would like to read that. That's very interesting. Because I have weird theories on the 9 realms that I won't discuss here, because I'll go down a rabbit hole and Beast will yell at me. And also because it's not the point.
I've been working on the runes tied to astrology a lot too, which is a little out there. That's one of my areas.
My theory ties to astrology. That's the fun part. And I can talk with you later about it if you want. That's fine. If I fall down a rabbit hole, be still yell at me. Not a lot, but.
Now, one of the things that I do like about it, also, one of the things a lot of people, one of my pet peeves when people try to do working with runes is they hold on to it, and so they don't release the energy to the universe to be able to be done. And that's one thing I like in this one. It talks about shaving off the runes and putting them into mead and letting it go. It's always been a big thing for me, is that tie-in with taking them and using them in things and then letting it go. And that's that image.
And imbuing that into things. That's awesome. That's awesome. Beast, do you have any nuggets of wisdom to throw in here? Does anybody else have any questions, comments, concerns, nuggets of wisdom, or things that stood out to you for one reason or another, and your thoughts and things on it?
You know, it doesn't help for me to talk to you and tell you things if you don't remind me that I'm muted. I've been making comments for like the last 20 minutes, wondering why y'all are ignoring me and not commenting back on what I'm talking about. I didn't realize I've been muted.
See, it helps do things.
I'm multitasking and I wasn't looking at the Discord, so I didn't realize I was still muted. I think you guys have covered pretty much anything I would have had to offer for this course, so I think we're good.
My bad.
I'm so sorry. I've been talking to you guys for like the last 20 minutes. After you guys stopped reading the book there, I started talking and people were talking over me and people weren't answering my questions. And I'm like, what the hell? And so I just ignored it and kept going on my stuff. And I'm just sitting here pouting because y'all hate me. And then I realized I'm muted. Y'all can't even hear my questions anymore. So, never mind.
What were your questions, Beast, out of my plain curiosity?
I don't know if I remember anymore. It was questions about the conversations y'all were having.
Oh.
So, nothing important. Nothing mind-shattering or anything. So.
Yeah. What's your favorite stanza, if you have one, out of this one, Beast?
I really don't have a favorite off of this one. It's a good story all throughout. It does have a better flow than the Havamal does, like you said. That was one of my comments, was the style and structure is very similar to the Havamal. It's still within that same poetic structure. Is the difference, do you think, the fact that this story is other people talking, not so much Odin and the seer? And the gravitas that you put on the Havamal because it's, the Havamal, whereas this is just another story. Do you think the difference in your own reading of it and how it affects you might be because of the fact that it's not the Havamal itself? If that makes sense.
It does, kinda. I feel like with the Havamal, it is Odin and them speaking, and they like to talk in riddles, and they like to throw in all their big vocabulary that us normal mortals down here, we don't understand all of it all the time. And this one is mortals, essentially, and they put it in more of a plain speech. Stuff that we understand a little better. It's like they're just talking and they're not trying to make a riddle out of it. They want you to understand it. Not that Odin and all them don't want you to understand, but they want you to work for it.
Right. So on that topic, you've got a copy of my Havamal, right?
I do not.
You do not have a copy of our Havamal yet?
I do not.
Child?
I know.
Well, we have a copy of the Havamal, version of the Havamal. It is the Havamal in Everyday English. I sat and worked for a long time on making that with 10 different translations side by side, going through and getting the blue-collar worker version of what they were saying. For primarily this reason, because the wording and terminology they use in most of the translations is not something that the average everyday Joe can assimilate. So we have the Awaken the North presents the Havamal in Everyday English available on the website. You can get it in paperback version or pretty color hardback version. Every version that is purchased funds a free one to be shipped overseas to our active duty military personnel. One paperback sponsors one paperback being sent. One hardback pays for 2 paperbacks to be shipped out.
Oh,
So if you want a good Havamal to read that is in everyday English, not in the these and thous and twisted around vocabulary, definitely check out the website awakennorth.org and hit the shop.
yeah, people of YouTube, what he said.
I've been going to pick up one.
What's that?
Been going to pick it up. It does look pretty interesting.
Yeah, it is fun.
I need to do the things.
Mm-hmm.
I have to figure out where I'm going to work next first, though.
This is true.
I put in 5 jobs. Rabbit hole. Never mind. We'll talk about it later. Anyway.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and kick Greg out for the night.
That's so hard. Yes. I have one.
Sorry if my bell was loud.